I get everybody's attention real quick. Is anybody here for Kimberly Horn sorry. I get everybody's attention real quick. Is anybody here for Kimberly Horn sorry. I'm staff. Just real quick, everybody's attention. Is anybody here from Kimberly Horn? Or the Alta? If you look, everybody should have an agenda. There's 3 different sections that individuals can speak. You have to fill out a form for that. The first one is visitor and citizens forum, where you just have general comments. When you fill your form out, then there's 2 public hearings, one for the Hamrick Creek and one for the Alta. So when you fill your form out, verify if you want to speak in general about the city. You have a particular case, the Hamrick and Alta. So when we go to the public hearing, that's when you actually speak on that particular item. The Hamrick Creek and one for the Alta. Thank you. Verify if you want to speak in general about the city. You have a particular case, the Hamrick and Alta. So when we go to the public hearing, that's when you actually speak on that particular item. Thank you.
Good evening. Welcome. I'd like to call this meeting of the Kennedale Planning and Zoning Commission to order. I'm Mark Perkins, Chair. We'll start with a roll call. Evening. Welcome. Go down the road. David Dickinson, Pennant. Dickinson, Pennant, here present. Gary Schmidt. Perkins here. Toby down here. Derek Rubens here.
Present.
And you're here. And we have, I understand it, two vacant positions now.
Correct.
Those will be filled when the council is able to do that. But,
Present.
We'll declare a quorum. We do have a quorum present, so we'll get started with the meeting.
Correct.
I'll shuffle my papers. Start with a visitor and citizen quorum. We've got several. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. We have several people who are signed up to speak. I've got 2 that appear to be in the visitor and citizen forum and one that's not. We have several people who are signed up labeled that I believe is meant for the or for the agenda item case number 12. I'll ask and be sure. First one for the visitor and citizen forum is Tracy Hardy. And sorry if you let's see. Okay, you said spoke with. Would you like to address the body tonight? Okay, if you could again just state your name for the commission and welcome. Thank you. Okay, you said spoke with. Would you like to address the body tonight? Okay, if you could again just state your name for the commission and welcome. Thank you.
And so that is a big concern of mine. Also, I know that they have addressed the flooding issues, and I don't know if they resolved that or not. But whenever it rains, the runoff, I'm getting the stuff that's back there. It's not a lot back there, but the rocks and stuff, all that is just coming right into my yard. It ain't rained that much this year, but it did rain a little bit, and then whatever rain we got last year. So I just wondered, did they ever get that fixed? So those are my two concerns.
Okay. Sorry, thank you. We, since this particular item's not on our agenda, we as a committee can't, or as a board can't take action.
Okay,
But we'll, like to maybe see if we can follow up with staff later on and see if there's, thank you, issues that can be resolved. So thank you.
okay. I sent a couple of emails from since like July, and I hadn't heard anything, so I was just trying to see if there was an update.
Okay, appreciate you coming for us tonight. Thank you. Next, we have Christina Hussfeld. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly.
Since like July, and I hadn't heard anything, so I was just trying to see if there was.
Not an easy
Appreciate you coming
name.
for us
So
tonight.
my name's Christina Hussfeld. I actually live
Next, we
down the
have
street from her
Christina-
at 1411, sorry,
Hopefully I pronounced that
Derby Drive. And I actually have questions regarding the agenda today, but then also other questions.
Okay, the
Same.
questions that are regarding the specific agenda items, we may hold those till we get to those
Okay,
individual.
I'll hold those.
hearings.
So I actually have questions about the same, brick wall possibly being put up, and there's actually,
Questions that are
I had
regarding
sent an
the-
email regarding the, ordinance number 673 that states that it must be like a solid, wall or masonry wrought iron metal fence put there between us. And our house is the farthest one, and I think it's 4 foot from the parking lot, and then it kind of gets a little bit bigger, but I've got pictures, just regarding that as far as for our safety, our entire backyard's up against there. And then the lighting also, which we've addressed a couple times. I have pictures as well at like 9:30 at night, if y'all would like to see those. Just to kind of get an idea of what we're dealing with, because I know you guys obviously aren't in our backyard, to see like if they're gonna be fixing that. Just to kind of get an idea of what we're dealing with.
I'm sorry, say,
Just if they're gonna be fixing, if they're putting, we were told that they're putting on like reflectors, and then maybe to see if they're gonna put up a wall or something for our safety. I know y'all don't have.
I don't have an
a
answer,
question,
but
I've sent emails, I've sent pictures, so we're just kind of all addressing it because we all are dealing with it on an everyday basis. So,
okay. well,
I think some of your questions may be for city council,
Okay,
more or less. Here, we kind of deal with zoning changes, period.
okay,
Your concerns regarding like lighting and protective barriers and things like that, that may be more of a city council question because they kind of approve the way things will be built.
okay.
Your
I guess
concerns
my other question is it like any sort of
things like that,
um,
may be more of a city council
grading
question
and
because
stuff
they kind
back
of
against that
approve
retaining wall? Would that
will
pertain
be
to y'all as far as like boundary lines, where the boundary starts and who's responsible for those, like the easements back there between property lines?
Yeah, well, again, that's kind of what the structure is already up, right?
Right,
So there's a plan that's kind of laid out for the city that we kind of see that allows for certain density when it comes to zoning. Again, that's council pretty much deals with the structure and what type of structure is going to be put up and things like that. So that may be a question you may want to come back and kind of address with city council to see what the plan is, what they've spoken with on the developer to protect you guys for your safety as well as the type of
Okay.
lighting that you
we
see.
will keep sending emails.
So that may be, or come back
Oh,
for
okay,
like a city council meeting and that kind
in a couple of weeks,
of. Okay.
but we'll come in during a city council
Protect you
meeting.
guys for your safety as well as.
Your job is
type of
supposed to
lighting.
be solve all those problems before they
Or
happen.
come back.
And
for
a
like
lot
a
of
city
city
council
council meeting
meeting
next year when that's approved,
But we'll come in during
previous staff.
city council.
So it's kind of after the fact. We are all concerned and interested. We all have to think about that too personally. But that should be addressed long before I started digging in the ground with planning and zoning. Questions should have been asked, okay, you're building a building, what are you doing with the walls? What are you doing? That's what we're trying to solve. I'm sorry? Yeah, tell me about it. Tell me
Okay.
about it. Yes.
Okay.
I have a big enough mouth.
Oh, I'm dealing with this too, trust me, after the fact, and it just changes gears as it's going along. Yeah. I apologize for that, but it's probably something that was previous staff and previous developments. This too, trust me, after the fact, and it just changes gears as it's going along. I apologize for that, but it's probably something that was previous staff and previous developments.
Okay. 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 Fine. Okay. I apologize. We're gonna have to keep the comments to those who have signed up to speak. So I appreciate you coming and bringing this to our attention. I'll follow up with staff and see if there are things that have been done there that were not as approved. I'd say that needs to be fixed, and there's probably a mechanism for doing that, but other than that, I can't really give you an answer. We're here to hear you tonight. So, but thank you for bringing it to our attention. We'll, as approved, see if we can do something from here. The other items I have, I believe, are all for the individual cases. Is there anyone who signed up to speak that had intended to be here during the visitor forum and not for or against one of the individual cases? Okay, if that's the case, may go on and save those till later, but if you've got a form up here, we will get to you here shortly. Thank you for bringing those items to our attention. On the consent agenda, we have approval of minutes from the August 11th meeting, and Rosie, we don't have those from the September meeting yet. Is that correct? So just the August 11th meeting should be for you. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from the August 11th meeting?
Motion, we approve the minutes, August 11th.
Motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. All right. Motion passes unanimously. So we'll move into the regular session. We'll do the staff presentation and applicant presentation, and then open it up to public hearing for each item. First one is case number PZ 22-12. Consider action on a request by KD Hammett Creek Development LLC for a final plat of approximately 8.02 acres located at 337 Kennedale Sublet Road. So we'll start with staff presentation.
Public.
Action on a request
Is
by
before you tonight, you have this
Development LLC
final plat.
for a final
Preliminary
plat of
plat,
approximately
preliminary
8.02
plat was done back in August 13th, 2020, and approved by P and Z. Preliminary plat kind of lays out the concept, and the final plat, now that the utilities and infrastructure are in, we're going through the final platting process. This is the Hamlet Creek development, 8.2 acres located at 337 Kennedale Sublet. Again, the request is to approve a final plat of that block 1, lot 1, Hamlet Creek Apartments Edition. The applicant is KD Hamlet Creek Development LLC. Again, the address is 337. The surrounding uses are single-family residential, vacant / undeveloped. Across the street is the cemetery. Surrounding zoning is ag, agricultural, and C2 commercial. And again, part of the discussion, and I just kind of education-wise, you have zoning, which spells out the physical requirements. All we're doing tonight is looking at the actual lot itself. This lot, zoning is urban village. And based on the plat, again, this is just the plat, the property lines, the easements, the dedication of right of way. And again, it's based on the original preliminary plat, is to approve the plat because it meets, again, the requirements of the plat. That's all we're looking at tonight, but it's good to hear the information from the public. Staff, based on that, recommends approval of the plat and planning. And again, the Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously approved the preliminary plat on August 13th, 2020. So, any questions?
I have a question. Whoa. Have a question. With this plat, this new plat, we don't have any encroachments on anyone else's property, do we?
As far as property lines? Or-
Yes.
So an encroachment would mean there's a structure encroaching onto their property. Typical survey, the property has gone out there, been surveyed and pin set, and I have heard no concerns of
Okay.
conflict. There's a conflict where boundaries don't meet or property lines don't meet, but nobody's brought to staff attention there's a conflict of property lines.
Okay, I had a gentleman come by my home regarding this very same thing, and he brought up the point of that there was a possible encroachment from this property onto his. I don't know if it was a structural wall or what have you, but he was one of the citizens was very, very concerned about that. And that's why I'm posing that question. I want to make sure that we don't have any issues there. I mean, that guy paid for his property, you know what I mean? And we're gonna do it. Let's be in order. Let's stay in order. Okay. So that's why I'm posing that question. I want to make sure that we don't have that kind of issue.
Again, that's what I'm trying to clarify. And if we get the information, there's two things where you have boundaries don't meet. There's a conflict in property lines, and that's typical of older properties. And you have an encroachment where there's a property line, and when that property line, it happens all the time. It's always okay to build your garage here, and you end up later on being 5 foot across the property line. So, you know, to my knowledge, nobody's ever brought that to my attention of an encroachment. Any other questions?
Andrew, do you have questions? Or-
Not at this time.
Along,
Anything else?
I have a question or two along that same line. As part of this hammock, isn't there supposed to be an empty green space at 345 Kennedale Sublet, which actually has buildings built on it now?
I'm not sure where 345 is. All I have is the plat I have here in front of me tonight for 337. Probably
It's
looking at-
adjacent to that, but it was never shown to planning and zoning that they were going to build on it, is my knowledge, and yet they have built on it. Both building 1 and 3 and paved parking are on it. And it's supposed to be a green space.
This is all legally, physically what's there on the ground today based on these property lines within that one lot. I haven't heard anything about a separate lot being dedicated for a green space. We're just approving this lot.
But this lot is not just 337, it's also other ones, is it not?
No, it's all 337. It's becoming one legal lot.
But originally it was more than one.
an original preliminary plat. You have the preliminary plat in your packages. This mirrors a preliminary plat that was approved back in August. So this is again, the first time I've heard of there being a separate lot anywhere.
Because I've been given information that there's supposed to be a green spot or a transitional zoned lot at 345. And it has buildings built on it now. So it's no longer transitional. It's now part of this apartment community.
Again, I'm not familiar with the separate lot. This is that development on this one lot.
Who would I ask that question of?
Again, it's not a separate lot. The transition zone is the neighboring property then.
But this apartment complex, from what I understand, has two buildings built onto that transition lot without the zoning, without P and Z agreeing to it originally.
Again, this physical drawing matches what's on the ground today.
Who would I ask my question of? It's been, I understood his was at 340, 349. This is 345.
That address is not the transition. Transition zone is the address you indicated for Mr.
Okay, another question, going back a ways before I was here. So I maybe am asking questions out of line, but originally when this was zoned, it was zoned as 5+ acres. Now it's 8+ acres. How did it grow? Unless they took in this 3 acres that was supposed to be the transition property.
I do not have that answer for you as well at this point. The transition zone that you're referring to, our legal opinion is that it's not it. The 345 you're indicating is not the transition zone.
Okay. And another question, and again, I'm new to planning and zoning, so maybe I'm asking redundant questions. Why is this listed as an urban village and not multifamily?
When the change, the zoning change took place back in 2016, that's when the UV was zoned for that property.
I see.
But urban village is supposed to be more than just apartments. That should be a planned development, right? What they have, they have right now? Urban
It's a
village should have
mixed
been
development,
retail.
yes.
So what are we approving or disapproving? I mean, they said one thing, but they built something else. How does that work
Urban
legally?
Village concept, it is more of a mixed use. The ultimate plan is a mixed use of apartments, retail, host of different possibilities of it. This is one part of what that urban village concept is representing.
Where is the rest of it gonna take place? Or is it ever gonna take place?
Well, hopefully in the near future, at one point, we'll have a developer that's going to go that distance. That's the idea of it.
I thought,
The whole concept of the urban village has not been completed. This has been one part of the ultimate plan for that location.
I thought it was presented that the builder who did all this was supposed to do it all. It was presented to us.
I don't know what that answer is.
Yeah, you weren't
That
here,
was back
yeah.
in 2016, when that concept was brought up. Just like anything else, things are going to change along the way. And obviously, it appears that that's probably one of them. I can allot to what's been taking place for the last 6 months in that concept of it. And what the city is presenting you tonight is the final plat for what's being presented. At this point, the city believes that what's presented is legal and up to the point where it needs to be for a final plat. And that's what we're asking of the commission tonight.
My understanding from the information on this plat is that it's now over 8 acres. How did it grow from 5 acres plus that it was approved at?
I do not have that answer.
I may ask it possibly a different way. Was the preliminary plat the same acreage? And may just add to that, and if so, could you possibly kind of give us a kind of an overview of what transpired in the, 2.5 years between the preliminary and final plat? And
That's going to be the easiest way for me to explain the process of this development started in 2016. We're at the end of the development. During the process of going through the development of the property, on the city side, on any aspect of inspections, the planning, the zoning, the council, every step of it has been approved along that line. That's why we're here today, is to present that to you. As what the city has done from that point has been approved. We're asking for a final approval for the final plat to be taken to Tarrant County. And if this property of 345, 337 becomes one, that's what this is. That's what we're asking of you tonight, is we're making a final plat. Yes, there are multiple entities that come in and to create this one. That's why we're here tonight. We're asking you, this is the final. Out of all the last 6 years, things changed. That's why we're here. Now we know this is what it is. There's no difference. This is the final product, and we're asking for a final approval to move forward and have this plat registered with the Tarrant County. That's the process.
Where were these changes? When were they brought forth? Were they brought to the older planning and zoning board that maybe I wasn't on? Was it other council? You know, during this process, I never heard of anything other than here it is now, there it is, it's finished.
Sure, absolutely. You know, government changes, and honestly, we're all aware of that. And that change has new vision. As we move forward and trying to improve the quality of life for our citizens, for our city, these things change. And as you change, we also may have some changes within the organization itself for employment, directors, leadership, in all different manners. We've had a lot of council members that have new views, new vision, new concept of a lot of different. All that plays a factor, and when you have a developer come in and have a view or have a vision of having something, that vision was an urban village concept. The urban village concept had these apartment complex in it, along with other structures, townhomes, storefronts with lofts. I mean, there was a vast variety of different mixed concepts for that property. This is one of, hopefully, a lot. Hopefully we can get this development where it's complete within the next however many years. But it does take time, and this is one step of that process of the urban village concept.
Now, this plotting of taking 2 lots and making it one, when I built my house, I had to pay and have that done first before I was able to break ground. Now they've already got it built, and now they're all asking that we're going to take 2 lots and convert them into one. It's part of this approval process.
That would have been done at rezoning.
I'm sorry?
That would have been done at rezoning. So probably back in 2016, they probably came to do a
What, that
rezoning
was replotted as one?
to reconsolidate all that. So basically, all this is today is this is just a verification of what is actually built. So everything that happened prior to that. So I'm sure the whole process was followed, that they consolidated the lots within the rezoning. And then it's just another process that they've done the preliminary plat. The preliminary plat was already approved. And now all this is just getting recorded for tax records. So same thing, like whenever you buy a home, they give you the survey. That's what this is. This is the survey of the land that's going to go in the tax record. That's all it is.
Well, why wouldn't this then be zoned as multifamily? If we're rezoning it or replotting it, why wouldn't we do this as,
Because
this part is?
Because it's an urban village. So it's got multiple different components to it. And so.
On the same
the
plot?
So whenever they did the replatting or the rezoning to change this whole area to an urban village, that's when all of this happened. So this whole area is supposed to be a future dream, a pipe dream about what we want this area to be based upon our future land use map. We want this to be urban village, which means it's this mixed use, not necessarily a straight mixed use one building, but the area is supposed to have commerce and housing. And so this was just the first piece, because in order to get business, you need a population. You can't build a business and expect to be successful if you don't have a population to support it. So as part of the urban village, the very first part of this is to develop the housing unit, for the housing unit to be able to support those future businesses to come in. So now that we have this on the ground, as this gets filled in, developers will be more willing to come in and build a building or build a business within the urban village that's already designed, already platted, already zoned to be urban village. So when those businesses go in, there is already a dense population that can support that business. So the only thing that's in front of us today is what is on this map? Is it what is built out there today? And the answer is yes. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and thank you. Appreciate your comments. And Colby, make sure you get a chance to speak if you got questions for staff.
It's fine that, that, I don't know, I don't even know how to word it. It doesn't make sense. If we're just approving the work, what about the citizens like Eric Elam that's, not happy?
And, this process started back in 2016. So those were the steps that took place over those past couple of years.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, what typically happens is within public input and public comment is that a lot of times, unfortunately, people don't come to those previous meetings until it's being built. So all of those times that were opportunities to come in and put public input, I'm not saying that they didn't, but typically most people come out after it's already built and after all of those preliminary steps to get that public input have already been passed.
Yeah, I appreciate your comment. Like you see, we are approving what's been asked of us is to approve the final plat. We're not doing rezoning. So unless,
That was already,
and
that was back in 2016.
and my understanding has been presented to us as being compliant with our rules. Is that correct? Okay. Okay, we have any other questions for staff? Do we have somebody from the applicant who would like to address the body? Well, no, I'm sorry, from the applicant. And good, state your name and address. We appreciate it.
Yes, Jason Lane, address 409 Yacht Club Drive, Rockwell, Texas. I am part of OM Housing. I've been part of this project since the beginning. I put it together. As far as the plat is concerned, the preliminary plat was held in a public hearing. That was approved. There were only two changes that were made from that preliminary plat, this plat, and that is that the road was widened from 24 feet to 26 feet. And the sidewalk configuration was changed as well. And that was to serve for a walking path along Kennedale Sublet. As far as phase 2 and phase 3 of the project, that would take the project all the way to Kennedale Parkway. Those phases, thank you for what you said. We need bodies there. We need demand in order to do that. But the main key was we needed infrastructure there. And that, if you guys have been through your sewer and water plans, it's a little dicey in that area. So what has happened is we have developed the spine road of the development to end right at the creek. It is now a plug and play situation. We have sewer, water, electric that can support phase 2 and phase 3 of the development, and it plugs directly in. That spine road will continue, hopefully all the way to Kennedale Parkway. given that TxDOT is cooperative. But that is the plan, that's the vision. But again, as, I don't know how to say your last name, Malkowski, as Mr. Malkowski said, we really need the bodies and the population for the demand. And we see that in the shopping center that's directly, almost directly across, that we've had businesses go in and out even since we've been here developing this project. And it's because there's a need for a demand. And that's what's going to generate excitement from retail developers, office developers, is people need to shop and eat in Kennedale. And that's what we're looking for. But if you guys have any questions beyond that, I'm here to answer anything.
I still have a question that I haven't got an answer to in my mind. How did it go from 5 acres plus when it was approved in 2016 to 8+ acres now that you're asking us to?
This plan has not changed since 2016. The preliminary plat was nearly identical to this, minus the width of the streets and the sidewalk. This is the exact plan. I don't know if there was a clerical error on Kennedale's part, but this is what was approved. This is what has been submitted to the county. Minus this final plat with those 2 minor changes.
Thank you.
What problems have you had with DOT? Because I've been information that DOT has never even been questioned about this or have stated any problems so far,
We met
causing you to not build anymore.
we met extensively with them. That's not stopping us from building. We met with them extensively because of the distance between Kennedale Sublet and that Hilltop, not Hilltop, Crestview Road. Is that the next light? Am I correct? It's Crestview. So the distance between Kennedale Sublet and Crestview to put in a like a grand entrance into a mixed use development, the only way that it can be done is a right in, right out. And so we were discussing that with, in fact, Melissa was involved in this and George was as well, with TxDOT about some options there, but it's all been in the discussion phase. So we just haven't, we're not at phase 2 and phase 3 as yet.
And you're going to be phase 2? You're going to take care of phase 2? Is that what your plan is?
We'd like to, but if, you know, if another developer picks that up, then they do. So we have a master plan that has been submitted to the city that that shows just an ideal of what could happen past the creek line to Kennedale Parkway. We'd like to see it happen, and we would love to participate in that. But it's also on the open market. But again, it's plug and play. So the infrastructure is already there that will support what they decide to build there.
Table Cole, do you have questions for applicant? Okay. Derek, how about you? And Andrew, any questions?
No questions.
I got one more. Who takes care of the damaged street now from all your trucks and all going up and down? This tore the road up so bad now. Who is supposed to follow it? Is it city? Is it, you know?
I mean, we paid a significant
Impact
road
fee?
impact fee. And the contractors made sure that all of the loads of the truck that were delivering materials were of a weight that road was rated for. So, I mean, there's not a lot we can do about that after an impact fee was paid.
Probably a question for staff then. Is it then city's problem that's not taking care of all that damage from those trucks and the way that road is degraded over time? Who comes into play with that?
He is correct. Impact fees are paid in reference to what the damages were done. Those fees will be used to build public road, either now or. Okay. That's the purpose of it.
Do not recall. six figures. I don't recall the exact number.
Well-
I wasn't prepared to answer that question at a plat meeting.
I wasn't around, I guess. Well, what was the value of that, your development? What was the cost factor? Put it on the map. What did we come up with, you know? How many million was it that whole development has been placed right now? What kind of money, you know?
It's between 25 and 30. And this also stays on the tax roll. So we haven't got any tax abatements or anything like that. It will be paid properly.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Not at this time.
Thank you. Appreciate that. With that, we'll call the public hearing to order at 6:38 PM. We have 4 people signed up to speak. Eric Elam, yours doesn't have the number, but I assume this is the case you were planning to speak on. Is that correct? So Mr. Elam, may I call you first and ask everyone to limit the comments to 2 minutes if we could, and
Well,
3 minutes. I apologize.
Just to make a motion, everyone have their ample time. This is a touchy subject right here, that he gets a little more extended time and other people.
I can answer all the questions that you were asking the city, know everything.
Okay.
I really do.
So,
I'd like to make a
Got all the
motion to Give him
documents.
some extended time to resolve some of these questions. He's done a lot of research on this, and I think will answer a lot of questions that we have.
we have a
I make a motion to have, give
Motion at the
Eric
same
about
time?
20 minutes time.
I can help clarify,
All right, Eric,
make it simple.
you got 20 minutes, Mr. Elam.
okay.
No, just, okay, to begin with, it started out,
Well, I'm sorry, I have a motion and a second. I want- And you second it? and
Second it,
we
yeah.
Have a, want to vote, I guess, all in favor of extending that to 20 minutes? Raise your hand. Okay, those opposed?
I'm not gonna give you 20 minutes, man.
Well, I'd like,
Be serious.
I'd prefer not to cut anybody off, so I guess you try to be concise and appreciate, I know you've put some time into this and I appreciate that. So please go ahead.
well, I got a notice in the mail. I'll start out this. I got a notice in the mail that said I could come up and speak. That was my public notice. It didn't give me a limit on time. I'd be blessed if I could really help out here as a citizen of 30 years. Show me some respect. I live right next door.
Understood.
I was one of the biggest cheerleaders for this at the beginning when it was going to be the urban village.
I'm opposed to 20 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
No, let's.
I don't
we
need
can-
20
I think we
minutes.
can go 5.
I don't. I would be good. 5 minutes would be fine. I'd be blessed.
And
Thank you.
if I may say that there's another speaker who is signed up, but has offered to give his time to you. So if we could
I don't
go
understand.
6
Okay.
minutes, that's a bit unusual, but let's
Let me get
let's
on
go
with
with
this
that.
then.
Okay.
The
thank you.
5.5 acres that was listed on the preliminary plat was a typo. Melissa Daly jacked that up. It was supposed to be 8 acres. She was all camouflage. So it was presented on the plat. What we're here today for on the plat, I got all these grievances which don't need to be heard here today. The preliminary plat was the thing that was presented. You're only here today to finalize what they presented. It should, my opinion, it should pass based on the law. It's got to pass. See, wasn't that simple? See, guys, everything's got to be so damn negative, does it? God bless you. I thought you'd be willing to hear, but there will be items that will come up that later needs to be dealt with the city. This is not the time and place. See, I didn't even need my 3 minutes. If you just let me get a word in edgewise, have some respect.
Thank you. Mr. Elam, thank you. Appreciate that. Next speaker we have is Richard Weber, who, Richard's the one who offered to yield time to Mr. Elam. Mr. Weber, would you care to address the commission? Okay. Okay, thank you. Next speaker we have is Sue Ellen Brown.
Hi, my name is Sue Ellen Brown, and this is kind of in reference to our parents' property, which is on Crestview. So it's 420 Crestview. It used to be North Crestview. 420 Crestview, so it backs up to the Hammock Creek Apartments. My first concern, and I emailed Mr. Cowie and asked him about the acreage, saying it was vacant on the west side, but I didn't really realize that there was a 200-foot leeway on the plat. So that's all been settled. But the question is the creek bed, which backs up between the apartments and then our property as well, and Mr. Elam's. And it's filled with, let's see, there are so much rubbish. There were pallets there, plumbing parts there. It's just a mess. My brother has pictures of it. There are huge rocks just scattered throughout the whole thing. It's a mess, an absolute mess. And our property is for sale. So that's going to be an issue because it backs right up to that. So, and it's clearly, none of this stuff was there because it's all related to construction. And they used the rocks, and they've got a stack that they put on our property actually that is probably at least this tall, and it's the big, huge, expensive rocks. And so I don't know why they didn't use them, but they put them on our property. So it just really should all be cleaned up because it is. And it should be taken care of. Okay, I think that was it.
Right, Ms. Brown, thank you. Appreciate your comments. And the last speaker I have on this one, and yeah, I believe the last one to sign up for this one is Terry Uzzleton. Thank you.
Things she just spoke about, there's all kinds of stuff along the property line that has been dumped there, and there are ruts where machines have gone through there where there's standing water now, which that would cause mosquito issues, stuff like that. But there's plastic PVC pipe, there's a orange rolled up like construction fencing and stuff that's all just been left back there. And the pile of rock she's talking about is tall as me. It's not 2 feet on our property, it's probably 20 feet on our property. You can see the tracks where they came through and dumped this. I don't know if this was landscaping rock that they planned on using, but it's just been, all this has just been left on the back of our property. We just want to make sure that this is all taken care of before any final paperwork is done on the apartment. I know that doesn't affect, I spoke with James earlier and I spoke with him in the past, and I know that doesn't affect what's going on here tonight, but we just want to bring it to your attention that I'm sure you don't, as a city, don't want to leave stuff laying down through the creek bed and stuff like that, but that's just our concern.
He's a general contractor, right? You, aren't you the head you're over the job, right? No, the guy behind you, Eric. The developer, yeah. So aren't y'all gonna clean that up? Okay. Okay.
That's all we ask, is that it is taken care of.
Okay. Mr. Uzzleton, thank you. Appreciate your comments and bringing that to our attention. We'll call this public hearing to a close at 6:46 p.m. And I guess we'll like to call for a motion for either approval or denial, and then have a discussion on that motion. So would anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay. And Colby. Oh, okay. So Derek, you made a motion to approve, and Colby's got a second.
I'll second
I
that.
guess we'll start with any discussion. David may start on this end. Colby second. Colby was first, but his microphone wasn't on. Okay, you. Here, No, let's just ask if there's any, we got a motion and a second, see if there's any discussion prior to the votes. So, Harry, do you have any further comments?
No, not at this time.
Okay. Say none from me. Chloe. And, Eric, you have any further comments, questions? Andrew?
No further questions or comments.
Okay, well, I'll call for the question. Say all in favor of approval, raise your right hand. And all opposed, same sign. So motion passes 5-1. So, thank you all. We had a lot of good discussion and thank you all who brought things to our attention. I know a lot of these things do need to be addressed and we'll follow up with staff and see if we can get something taken care of. So thank you for being here. Next case is number PZ 22-13 to conduct a public hearing and consider a request Kimley Horn Associates for replat of approximately 10.593 acres located at 5312 Kennedale Sublet Road. So, Mr. Galley, if you're going to do our staff presentation.
Board members and public again. Again, this is a property located at 5312 Kennedale Sublet Road. Again, we're looking at a final plat, looking at specifically this land as far as meeting the requirements of being a platted lot. It's a replat of multiple lots. The applicant is Kimley Horn Associates. Again, the address is 5312 Kennedale Sublet. The surrounding uses are single-family residential and commercial retail. You have the surrounding zoning of R3 residential and again, C2 commercial. The future land use plan shows as urban village. It's a multifamily development in the final phase of completion. Property to the north is commercial lots currently under construction, which is O'Reilly's, which is currently open now, the car wash and in the near future of Popeyes. And then the adjoining property, we butt up, that's the transition to the city of Arlington. So some of the adjoining property is actually in the city limits of Arlington. And the P&Z Commission unanimously approved the preliminary plat back on March 11th, 2021, which was case number PZ 2106. Any questions of staff? Thank you.
No questions, staff? Okay. Do we have anyone from the applicant who would like to address the board? You do? Oh, if you're with the applicant? Okay. Okay, if you could just state your name and your address, we'd appreciate it.
No, I'm Christine Stillwagon, an engineer here at Kimley Horn, and this is basically a multifamily development and buildings and a clubhouse. As he said, engineering plans were approved and constructed according to plan. The preliminary plat was approved, so it's here to see the final plat get approved as well. So if you have any questions.
Okay, it'll start down here. David, do you have questions for the applicant? Gary?
I have no question.
None here.
What happens when you have to widen the road? Cause you can't build on the cemetery. Does that mean y'all are gonna give up some of the land?
Already dedicated right away along Joplin Road. So that has already been.
Option.
I think
Let's
that's
go-
a different project. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
No, I get it. It's
Okay.
confusing. There's a lot going on tonight.
Derek? Okay. Derek, do you have questions for that?
I have no questions.
Andrew?
No questions this time.
Thank you. So with that, I'll call the public hearing to order at 6:53 PM.
Get someone else.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You represent the app? Oh, are you signed up to speak? Okay, you'll be up. Won't you come on up? We're calling the public hearing to order at 6:53 PM and are you Michael Morin? All right. That's exactly whose name's on this form. So thank you. Appreciate you coming. And if you can state your name and address and
Michael Moore, I live at 1402 Mallard Court, Kennedale. I guess some of my questions were answered generally, but this states that there would be a replat. Does that mean that there is a change going to be made or a change that is going to be submitted on behalf to rezone this or expand this in some manner? That question hasn't been answered. I assume that a replat means changes will be made.
There's different versions of plats, minor plats, replats, amending plats. The first piece of property we talked about was a tract, so it's the first time it's being platted. This property, I realized there was existing steeplechase subdivision, so it's a replat of block 1, lot 2R, tracks 1E, 1F, 1G, 1H, 1J, 1K, 1M into lot 2R, which means it's a revised, you're revising all those lots and making it one big lot. That's where the term replat comes from. They combined all those. It's not affecting adjoining properties. Again, it's this piece, but you're replatting what was lots into one big lot.
Okay.
Separate lots.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that's a replat is when you're combining existing lots. The first case was this one big tract platted into one lot. That's why it was flat. This is combining lots, so you're replatting into one big lot, and therefore also the legal definition of where that is, read that out of lot 2R. You revise some lots in one big lot.
Okay. Mr. Kelly, thank you. Did Ms. Morgan, did that answer your question on that
No, yeah.
item? Okay. And do you have further comments? Okay, you're easy. Thank you. And that is all I have signed up to speak. So we'll call the public hearing to close at 6:55. Oh. Oh, I apologize. Oh, it was in reference to this? Oh, okay. I apologize. It didn't have the number at the top of the page, so I assumed it was for the visitor and citizen forum earlier. So, okay. I guess, Rosie, is there any problem if we allow them to address this again? If you have further comments specifically on this plat? Yes. Yes. Okay. Oh, okay. Thank you. And okay, thank you. I apologize for my misunderstanding about which one you decided to speak in.
Can we bring the
Yes.
developer back up just for 1 second, please?
Left.
Oh,
The
no.
engineer, yeah.
And if you don't mind me, Ms. Hardy, do I have your name correctly? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh, which one? I'm sorry.
Is there any way that we can address these people's safety concerns?
I did not show up in time to hear what you had to say, so if you could repeat it, that would be great.
Okay. No.
I'll repeat. Basically, I live right, my property comes right up to the brick wall that they have for the apartment. And so my fence is, the general fence is what, 8 feet tall? So the brick wall that they have, that's the border, is probably another 6 or 7 feet taller than mine. So their parking lot, my house is down here, their parking lot is taller than the roof of my house. there's no protector for anything. If a person lose control of their car, stop them from coming over that edge into my house. It would land right into my house. It wouldn't just go down a hill and hopefully stop. They come to the end and just flip and roll into my backyard, my living room, my house, my entire house. Anyone in my house, in my yard can be injured, even in the backyard. Whenever we're mowing the yard, the whole time, we're constantly looking. When the workers was working, the bumpers of the pickups was hanging over on our side. And so also, when it hadn't rained that much this year, but when it did rain, all the rocks and trash and stuff came over on our side. And now it's trash back there. It's like cups, plastic. So if it did rain, all that's gonna block up all the water. It's gonna all come over. Another concern I have, and I have been back there and I just look from that point of view down, privacy, all that is gone. When you're in my yard, if you're in my yard and you're standing on the side and you can look from my yard all the way through the apartment into their apartments. I can see what appears to be a closet. You can look all the way in, so they can look into us. So there's nothing, even though they put that fence up there, that really doesn't help. It looks like it's gonna be two huge lights that they're gonna put here. Those are spotlights that's gonna be right down in my yard. But the main focus is safety. I don't feel safe in my house anymore. I feel like I'm gonna be forced to move. I can't afford to move. The houses that they have now that's equal to what I have is at least $200,000 more than what I have. If I go to sell my house, I'm gonna have a loss in value. People, if you go into Instant Street View, I think it's Google Street Instant View, you see the apartments. It towers over my house. If I put my house up for sale, the first thing a person's gonna do, they're gonna look to see the area. They're gonna be turned off. Who wants to live where, number one, somebody's looking right down in their yard? What can we do about that? What can we do about the safety to prevent somebody? Because to me, I feel like it's just a matter of time. What if somebody's drunk and they, lose control? What if it's icy outside, they lose control? There's no safety protection for me and my family. And that really concerns me. Flooding concerns me, safety concerns me. This is good for y'all, but it's bad for the nation. It really is. And that's a quick way of summing it up. Thank you guys for listening.
Ms. Hardy, thank you. And Ms. Hussfeld, did I get it right this time or come closer? Okay, thank you. And again, I apologize. I thought you guys were both on the Visitor and Citizen Forum.
I guess I just need some clarification. I obviously don't have a background in this. And we're talking about replat versus platting versus preliminary, I've heard also, so it's being called multiple different things. Is this like an initial, first time ever plat? Are we replatting? Or is this a preliminary? What is I'm confused because there's certain things that need to be followed.
What's happening is they're combining lots,
Right.
right?
So this is the first time it's being platted.
Well, it's already been played. By the time it comes to us, this new plat has already been kind of approved. It's gone through the city council, things like that. So they're kind of looking for us to just say, yes, they can combine these lots. When it comes to the building and the structure and things like that, the safety features and all that, that comes to city council. So that's when you begin to get into that. When they begin building the next phase, you come to city council and be like, listen, this is what we need to be safe.
And I'm sorry, just to maintain order when we call you back. Ms. Hussfeld, do you have any further comments before we may call the applicant back up for a couple of questions in a minute?
I'm confused because I know that prior to building, the plat has to be approved.
Right.
So we already have an approved plat for this? Okay, so.
So this is similar to the last case that we just had,
Mhm.
where this is the final plat. So this is what is actually going to be, this is a record of what is actually built. And this is what is going to be filed as part of the parent county tax rolls.
Okay.
So all those other steps have already been taken, where they did the rezoning to say, this is what we want to build here. We want to do a multifamily development here.
Mhm.
And then they come to us with a plan of this is what we think it's going to look like. back and forth between us and the city and the planning department. And then we get, you know, the preliminary plat, which is, this is what we're going to build. And now that we've built everything, this is what is actually going to be.
So there's already been approval to push all these together.
Yes.
Okay, so then I guess I just want to address the same thing, with addition of, again, there's a city ordinance that states that between, so be with our house, our property line and the curb, like cars park up to the curb, there's 4 feet. I know it's supposed to be 10, I think it's like 4 foot, 8 inches. And then it's our backyard. So there's a city ordinance that states that within 10 feet, they have to put up a brick wall. So I guess I'm asking, or part iron rod or whatever. So again, before this is approved, I feel like the city should hold them accountable to the ordinance that is part of the city of Kennedall to build this wall before anything goes forward for our safety. Again, the light pollution. I mean, y'all, it looks like a baseball field in my backyard. Not kidding. Our spotlight does not turn on because it doesn't get dawn. Our dawn to dusk does not work. Our neighbor's bird sleeps in daylight all day long. We had to, you know, start putting covers and stuff over it. So the lighting, the wall is a big one. And then regrading back behind there. It's all, at what point is that retaining wall not going to retain because it's all messed up back there. So I feel like those 4 items should be addressed prior to being approved.
Okay.
Thank you.
Also, thank you. I may ask, Mr. Cowie or the applicant, would either of you like to take a moment to address the concerns that have come up here? And
I guess again, I've got to really legally stick to just the plating aspect
Yeah.
of it. Staff and the staff and city manager, we all relay the physical concerns. Again, we approved the preliminary plat. This design still follows the original preliminary plat. And as far as again, the plat itself, it complies with all of our requirements. But again, we'll address the citizens' concerns.
okay,
I understand the project is still under construction, so they still have to get a final CO. So the physical concerns brought before us, we can work with the builder and the developer and engineers to address their physical concerns. And there's other one that city staff has talked with the citizens about, and they're still under construction, so we still have this as on any case, and try to address their concerns.
okay. And I apologize. I'll call the public hearing to close. It's 7:05. I may have already done that and may amend the time if that's okay. And then I'd like to see if the applicant has any responses to some of these comments, especially some of the safety related comments. I'd like to hear what.
As far as the lot itself, we can't get off in the discussion of the physical stuff. It's a lot of legal lot, and we've got to stick to that. If you have any questions, physically itself in the preliminary plat, we have to stick to that discussion.
Okay. That you start down at this end of the Andrew at this time. Do you have questions?
No further questions.
No questions.
No questions.
None for me?
No questions.
No questions.
Okay. No questions. Would anyone like to make a motion either for or against approval?
Motion we approve.
I second that.
Got a motion and a second. We have. Apologize, my phone's ringing. I need to shut it off. We have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Go around one more time.
I'm fine, thank you.
No discussion.
None here. Any?
Nope.
No discussion.
Okay.
So I just wanted to address some of those safety concerns. Those are, the point of contact that you really need to be talking to is the city manager. Okay, well, and I know that we've kind of had some transition in some of those roles, and we're starting to get some more permanent people in there. And so working with them, they'll be able to discuss and handle that information. And they'll be the ones that are going to be moving forward with that. And that would be where you direct that conversation to.
Okay. There's no further comments. All in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. And none opposed, motion passes unanimously. And believe all we need now is a motion to adjourn. And
Make a motion to adjourn this meeting. Okay.
okay,
I second that.
we heard you this time. You did good. And thank you all very much. We appreciate your comments and your participation.
Who made those motions?